The LONGBOX Crusade presents Transformers Chronicles.
Hello and welcome back to Transformers Chronicles. I'm Delvin, aka The Dark Web, and in case you're new to the show, welcome. Let me tell you what this thing is all about. We're going on a wild, crazy ride chronicling an awesome, wacky, and sometimes tables-turning world of Marvel Comics, the Transformers. But I will not be going at it alone. Let's meet my chronicling companion. Yeah, just one tonight. Yeah, that's Pat, the founder of the LONGBOX Crusade, the relative novice to the Transformers world, seeker of the Matrix of Knowledge, sometimes known as DJ Christados. Pat, hello. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Delvin. Hello. Good to be here. You're right. I am seeking the knowledge. I have been for quite a long time, but I'm trying something different. I'm kind of going like to the tanning booth.
Okay.
Hoping that I get into this kind of a shell and that I can come back and it might help me. You know, I got some body aches, hoping that it might put me back together all right in one piece and I come back stronger, harder, faster, you know.
Yeah.
Cost me about $6 million to do it.
Yeah.
But
It you better be careful though. It might wipe your mind. And I mean, if everything comes with a little sacrifice, you might be a little bigger, stronger, faster, but might not have memory anymore. And what happens then?
I don't know, but it's great to be here, Delvin. I'm glad I'm here. It's great to be here. It's my first time. I haven't read any of these Transformer comics at all.
Oh boy, he did it.
Did what?
He went through nothing. Welcome to the show for the first time, Pat.
Thank you, Delvin. It's glad to be here. Thank you for having me. And tell me, what have you been going for this last time since we talked? We've been doing the show, or at least I've been doing the show for 50 some issues now. And so I'm welcoming you to Transformer Chronicles. I'm your host, Pat, and joining me on this is Delvin.
You are all sorts of mixed up. We're going to work on that. Like we got the duration of the show to fix that. But I can answer the first part. Like, what have I been up to? Not much. It's been about the same here in lovely Charlotte. It kind of snowed again in the last month or so that we've been here. Like, snow is nothing for you up in Wisconsin. I understand that, but it snowed like 3 separate times here in this winter, and I don't like it. Like, I did not move to Charlotte for snow, and like I never have to see it. We went years without it, and then all of a sudden this time is like snow has hit the ground 3 different times. Nothing terrible, and none of them were just awful. Like it seems like the city was at least ready for it, and like there's been salt on the road or whatever. But I'm definitely ready for some warmer weather to start kicking in, and it's slowly starting to show signs of it. So I'm happy about that.
Same here. Hopefully we're going to get a little bit warmer weather.
Yeah, like it's time. It's time for some warm weather, some sunshine, and some good times out in that sun. Normally, we have John and Maggie on the show. Maggie was a little under the weather, and John is, of course, being a supportive lesser half. So neither are able to make it tonight. So you got me and you got Pat tonight. I hope that's enough for you to listen, because the issue is fantastic. But that's me personally saying that. And the purpose of this podcast will be tackling all of Marvel's Transformers comics in order, starting with issue 1 and working our way to the series end at issue 80. We will answer any questions that are brought up to the best of our ability and see how these books we loved then as a kid hold up to our eyes as an adult now. Really? How many times have I said that? This podcast is guaranteed to be, you guessed it, more than meets the eye. So, Pat, let's see what happens when Megatron's game truly gets afoot. Right after this promo break.
The Transformers will return after these messages.
All right, our bags are packed and we got the snacks. It's time for the LONGBOX Crusade road trip to the LONGBOX Mobile crew.
Shotgun.
Dang it.
Everyone buckled up. Here we go.
Well, now that the garage is empty, Gene will have more space to record episodes of LBC Irregulars, the indexing of the Jeremy Brett Sherlock Holmes TV series.
Oh no! Did anyone remember to leave Clinton some food down in the basement? He's going to need it as he makes more episodes of Fan Film Fridays, his ongoing look at online fan films.
Why are you speaking in such a scripted manner, Dark Web? Anyway, you can relax. I asked Rick or was it Jeff? Who can remember? I asked the attic guy to come down from time to time to check in on Clinton. Take some breaks from recording Monday Movie Muckabout, his movie review show.
Weasel Skull, did you give Rick the key to the basement?
Key.
Sounds like LBC headquarters is in good hands, Death Probe.
Right you are, Cristados. Oh, Pat, can we stop off at KB Toy Store? I want to pick up some Transformers and G.I. Joes. They remind me of Transformers Chronicles and G.I. Joe Chronicles. Our show's going through the Marvel run of Transformers comics and the Devil's Due run of Joe comics.
Well, while you guys are doing that, we can also stop by a Blockbuster video and get some tapes to watch for Action Film Face Off. That's the show where we discuss 2 action films and have them duke it out to see which one is the episode champion.
Is that VHS or beta?
Either one is fine.
We've got a lot of stops to make, but if we can, let's squeeze in the Walden books and score some comics for us to talk about on Crusader Chronicles, the show where we move chronologically through the Amazing Spider-Man comics and include a bonus issue from the same release date as the Spidey recovery.
I will definitely keep an eye out for our Walden books. It'll come in handy for the pure Longbox Crusade episodes, our time capsule show where we take a deep dive into a randomly selected comic and talk about news, music, and movies and ads that were popular when the books were released. I'll also be on the lookout for our electronic boutique, EB, if you guys don't know the lingo back then, so we can get some more comic-related video games for us to discuss on Comics to Council Crusade.
Good thinking. If time permits, let's hit Circuit City. I need more positrons for our Pop Culture Posicast show, the one where we find all the good stuff in pop culture that others seem to poo-poo.
Positrons?
Shut up and go with it.
These old-timey, out-of-business store jokes doing anything for you folks? Well, if you like old-timey stuff, we also offer Saturday Matinee Theater, our look back at old TV shows, serials, and films that have kind of been forgotten.
I think that about covers it. We definitely want to be your road trip crew, folks.
Whether it's your commute to work or a road trip of your own, why not pass the time with us, your friends at the Longbox Crusade?
Once again, that's Longbox Crusade, available on all your finer podcatchers.
Good job, team. I'm getting hungry. Pat, stop at the next Kenny Rogers Roasters that you see.
Or Bennigan's.
Burger Chef!
We now return to the Transformers.
Welcome back. The issue we will be covering today is Transformers issue 58, and looks like it's up to me to describe the cover. Here we go. All right, we got the new Transformers logo going on up top, with the kind of curvy cursive letters. That's going to be the way it's going to be from here on out. Optimus Prime in his classic pose in the cover box or the corner box with the classic Marvel Comics logo. The main action of the cover is the head of Power Master Optimus Prime, and he is all red, it sort of depicts some sort of madness, and there's black outlining of it. Behind it is just a little background that has kind of like this sort of Kirby crackle dots going on, and just showing like in blue and black just to offset that red. And Optimus Prime just looks very, very driven and angry on the cover. And then there's a blurb on the cover that says, Megatron, alive. Ratchet, a prisoner. Optimus, out of control. He's not going wild or anything. There will be no Optimus Prime in a bikini. And I think we're all ready.
Shoot.
I know. You'll have to just keep that image in your mind and never tell me about it, Pat. But what do you think about this cover?
Well, I think it's a really unique cover. And when I look at it, I thought about all the other covers we have kind of gone through. And this one is one that really stands out. And I think what makes it really stand out is that straight red color on Optimus Prime, that big, it's like that headshot that's coming at you. But it's really inked in a, you don't have really straight lines at all with it. It's kind of fadey lines, and the background of the little circles and dots are kind of want to say like a star field, possibly, that they're going for a little bit, but really goes against the color of the red, so goes well together. And Optimus's eyes, when you start to look at his eyes like that, it's just like, something's not right with him, where he's just kind of giving you really an evil look, and you never really seen him like this before. So again, I want to say this is a very unique cover so far, or really into this deep of the series that we're in. What do you think?
Yeah, there is something about it that's striking. Like there's something that they're wanting you to know, that something going on with Optimus just isn't quite right. And I mean, you can tell it. I like that, if you were watching like a TV show and they kind of had someone like just highlighted in red like that and just had that intense face, that they are being angered, or they are already at a state that they are basically just at wit's end. They're completely angry and upset. And so I like the little blue background of it kind of offsets, that red as well, like I mentioned. And I like that. It just makes it stand out just a little bit more. And I like your pickup as well on the rough inks that were done. It was very intentionally done in a way that it just looks like, again, it just adds to the roughness of it. It just looks like that, he has just had it up to here with whatever, and he's just not going to take it anymore. And that feeds a little bit into what goes on into the issue itself, but we can talk about that when we get to it. Here on Transformers Chronicles, we rate things on a scale of 1 to 10, just like the tech specs of old, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, to describe what we feel about the cover. And Pat, you're up, man. What do you think about the cover? What would you rate this, 1 to 10?
I've been thinking about this. I think I'm going to give this one a 9. I'm going to bump it up from the 8 that I originally started with. I think I like it at a 9 now that we've gone through it. I've read it. And so my original before I read it was an 8, but I'm at a 9.
Okay.
I talked myself into it. Yeah.
Okay. I'm slightly lower. I'm at a 7. I don't think it's bad. I definitely think it's better than average for sure. And I think it was adventurous in a sense.
It's very simple, but yet, like you said, simple and unique for me. Yeah.
And sometimes that simple and unique just kind of strikes out to you. Like I'm looking at it, I'm like, would I put that on my wall? Like I could think of other covers that I would rather have on my wall, but if I had that, I don't think that's a bad one.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, we're in agreement, just different levels. Like you were like enthusiastic about the individuality of how it is, because I don't think we'll see a cover like this again.
I was wondering if we were going to see. So that's what I think really stood out to me is
nice. Yeah. Nice. Well, Pat, if you would like to, we can go ahead and read the cover credits for the issue.
All right, let's go ahead and do that. We are covering Transformers issue number 58. Its on sale date was July 25th, 1989. Another summer. Get down with the cover date of November 1989. Cover price was $1. Story is by Simon Furman. Pencils go to Jose Double. Inks is Dave Hunt. Colors is Nelson Yamtov. Letters is Jim Massara. Editor is Don Daly, and the cover credits go to Jose Delbo. This is all thanks to Mike's Amazing World and tfwiki.net. Back to you, Delvin.
Thanks, Pat. Let's get to the synopsis.
It is a world transformed, where things are not what they seem. It is the world of the Transformers.
The Transformers, more than meets the eye. Autobots wage their battle to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons. Transformers. Robots in disguise. The Transformers. More than meets the eye.
The Transformers from Marvel Comics.
The title of this issue was All the Familiar Faces. You gotta love part 3 of a 4-issue series, or in this case, a series within a series. The action always picks up because in the 4th part is the grand payoff of the story. But rather than jump ahead, let's enjoy what Simon Furman and company have brought us, shall we? Ratchet is successful in taking the remains of Starscream and letting that repair itself inside of a pretender shell, and now he's completed his task. Megatron, who had Ratchet perform this fix under threat of blowing up the Ark, proceeds to tell his Micromasters to blow up the Ark. Back to this in a second. We go to Earth, MacDill Air Force Base, where Optimus Prime knows something is going on. So he pulls an Uno reverse of sorts and sends his troops on the shuttle back to the Ark while he runs interference on Scorponok's Decepticons. The Autobots leave and the Decepticons immediately attack. Hot Rod disobeys orders and remains behind, but Optimus Prime convinces Scorponok to reconsider, appealing to his reason that something bigger is going on. Back to this in a second. Ratchet is smart enough to know not to trust Megatron, so when Megatron eventually turns on him, he already has a surprise set in motion. Remember those 3 other Pretender shells lying around and the 3 Autobots Ratchet brought with him? Back to this in a second. On the Ark, Cup comes to and stops the bad guy Minibots, but in the process sets off a timer just as the Autobot contingency from Earth is about to arrive back to the Ark. Moving on. On Earth, Scorponok decides to hear Optimus Prime out, but unfortunately for all of them, a mind-wiped Starscream has arrived where they are and attacks. And on Cybertron, Ratchet is just about to expire when Megatron is distracted by Ratchet's surprise. He used the discarded Pretender shells to revive Jazz, Bumblebee, and Grimlock. So Pat and I are about to talk about the book, highs and lows, and we're going to have a little discussion going on now. So Pat, what you got? What you got for Transformers issue 58?
There was a lot going on in this one, but it was kind of short too. As I was going through it, unlike before, we had a little more kind of wordy talking. This had some good actiony parts in it. One thing I liked was we're starting to see Megatron's plan finally come into floration, or to bloom, so to say. And we're starting to see it happening, and what his overall big plan was. But we also get to see Ratchet kind of throw a wrench into it, right? Throw a ratchet into it and kind of muck it up with it. Yeah.
So
kind of muck it up a little bit.
I don't know if you remember way back in like Transformers 8 or so, where Megatron kind of had a big plan going on, and Ratchet had a little bit of free time, because he was going to have to make that deal with the devil and didn't want to. And he had the Dinobots pop up and attack Megatron, that bought him some time. And like, even though it was unsuccessful, like, you give Ratchet a little bit of time, Ratchet be scheming too. Like, he's did a very, very smart thing, and because he knew, I like that they even gave Ratchet the credit of like, look, it's Megatron. I know he was going to double cross me. But like, things just happened a little bit fast, but thankfully he was able to survive long enough for his big surprise to kick in.
Yeah. And luckily, he had those other, 3 Autobots that he brought along with him and those Pretender shells to, put that all together. And you would think, I guess maybe you wouldn't think, but with Megatron, you would think that, should I leave him alone? Should I maybe have somebody watching him? A little bit,
see, I thought so a little bit, but like at the same time, that's kind of like Megatron is that classic 80s bad guy. Like, of course, the Austin Powers, where at one point, Scott Evil is like, I have a gun in my room. I can just take it out, bang. He said, and the doctor was like, you just don't get it, Scott. You don't. I think it's similar in the sense that Megatron was like, my plan is so perfect that no one would ever even possibly think to interfere with it. Like, I have completely duped Ratchet. Yeah, he's got those freaking inactive Autobots. They ain't gonna help him. What else is he gonna do? And I would say that Megatron, even he is as intelligent as he is, he's also arrogant. And he's so arrogant that he's going to think that nothing is going to ever interfere and get in the way of his plan because it's so brilliant.
Yeah. No, you're right.
That?
Yeah. Yeah. I buy it all. And I was like, oh, Megatron, it's like, come on. You would think that you'd be smarter by now, but I guess not. But I do like how it all kind of played out. Like I said, this one was kind of a fast one as you're reading through it, because it's setting up a lot to, I guess it's maybe the setting up the final story or the final bit for this story, maybe. I think. So I'm interested to see. I want to read the next one. Let's talk about the shell real quick, if we can get to that.
Sure. Of course we can. Just you and me.
How is it that the shells that Starscream comes out of it just as normal off out of it again? It doesn't look like it's big enough to fit his wings in.
You cut off earlier than I thought you were. We had a mouthful of shrimp.
That's okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay. I know. Maybe I'm nitpicking a little bit, but I was surprised.
Hold on. Give me a second, Pat.
Okay.
Now this isn't the case in the comic book, but I'm remembering having this toy as a kid. I believe I had the Pretender Starscream as a kid. And if you remember the original Starscream, if you've ever seen the original Seeker toys and how like they were pretty big size jet, right?
Yep.
That transformed. The Pretender version of Starscream was smaller. So he could fit inside of the shell. Now, in this case, I would imagine that, just Transformers magic, maybe the wings folded in or something like that. And then sprouted out. But like, I would just say the best answer would be probably don't think too hard about it. Maybe a slightly more intelligent answer would be maybe that Pretender shell is a little bit bigger so that it could house the wings.
Could house it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that really just kind of threw me more into a surprise a little bit that I'm like, oh, he's actually coming out of it as himself. I was expecting like maybe that to stay, or maybe a little bit a different thing of him, maybe, I guess I was surprised because I haven't seen that toy before.
Yeah.
So I really don't know what to expect out of this. And of course, I haven't read the story at all either. So I didn't know that it was actually Starscream's body within that.
Yeah.
So it really took me by surprise.
Think like any of the Pretender toys is going to have a big shell and a slightly smaller toy inside of it. And I think what they do with the comic book is just, they've done the shrink tech too. I'll say that too, right? Where sometimes with the tapes, et cetera. So that is also a possibility that a smaller version of him and he's able to expand back into his normal size once he's able to fit in. That, I'm willing to personally say that the answer is kind of like, just see it as that Transformers toy sorcery sort of thing.
Yeah. And moving from big to small and
Yeah, because there's not going to be just that 100% clean answer. But we're talking about fictional robots anyway. So it doesn't necessarily have to make sense in the real world.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like I said, it was something that kind of took me by surprise. I was kind of hoping to see a little bit more of that actual shell do some stuff.
Well, maybe you might see something next to show. Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Knowing how the shells work now, because they can operate by themselves, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The robot inside remotely controls the Pretender shell.
Okay. Yep. All right. So maybe we'll see then a little bit more, because I'm like, how is Starscream going to take on these guys? But I guess he can. He's Starscream too, so he did it once before. He can do it again. Consider
this too. That was one case where, if this were just if the events of Transformers 50 didn't happen, and then all of a sudden Starscream jumps out, then no one. I was like, oh, okay, it's Starscream. We could probably handle him. But all of these robots that are on the ground now, they saw.
Yeah, what he could do.
Starscream in action, what he could do. And they also saw, Scorponok in particular, saw him get blown to smithereens as a result of absorbing too much power inside of the underbase. So last time he saw this bot, the bot was scrapped. And all of a sudden, he's jumping out of this shell looking alive and more powerful than ever. So even Scorponok is a little bit shell-shocked by this. And I think that's understandably so, and they don't know what he's capable of at this point because he's just made his grand appearance. So is he under base powerful still? Is he just normal?
Yeah.
Like, they don't know. All they know is that a robot that was dead has all of a sudden returned, and that's enough to shock
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I definitely knew that was a big surprise to the team that was at the Air Force Base, both teams. And I think let's kind of go into that as far as both teams coming to a standstill, so to say, to kind of talk it out and start thinking about, hey, why are both of us here? You know, we both are getting duped, and we're getting duped by somebody.
Yep.
It can't be two different people. It's got to be one person that brought us here so they could keep us, you know. Optimus is figuring it out, and now he's trying to talk to Zarak and just say, hey, you know, listen to what I'm talking here. You know, you're a man, you're a man of understanding and all that, you know, as you mentioned, let's talk reason here.
Yeah.
If you didn't do this, I didn't do this.
Who did
it? Who did it? And what's going on? You know, and I'm going to just send my guys, you know, I'm sending my guys packing. I'll stay here and take the front and the brunt of it all.
I mean,
if I have to.
You think about it, that was an incredibly selfless and brave thing to do. Because at last issue, one of the things that happened was like one of the humans like sort of told Optimus Prime, was like, if you're supposed to be protecting us, buddy, you're doing an awful job at it. And so and Optimus Prime's like, okay, he's kind of right. I've just jumped into this action, feet first, fist first, guns blazing. I need to try a different tactic, because he knew something was going on. He felt that it was a trap, and just everything just like, it was like, all right, I got to do something to switch it up. Like, and he put himself on the line. Like, it was even Scorponok shot him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like,
he shot at him. I was like, okay.
Yeah. And he's like, I don't care. I mean, like, fine, take whatever shot you need, but like, I'm telling you something else is going on here. And I like the sort of crisis of conscience that Zarak / Scorponok had, because it was like, okay, this is my sworn enemy, but recent history shows that I thought that he was doing something just for his own good, and he was actually doing it to save all of us, including me. So, like, I should should do the thing that Decepticons do to Autobots, but maybe we need to hear each other out. And sure enough, in a classic horror movie trope of sorts, by the time that any reason starts coming into the fray, here comes the big bad guy. Like, so they didn't even have time to necessarily discuss who possibly could have done it. And if you remember also, last issue, Scorponok was having those same misgivings. He was kind of like, I don't like this airstrike patrol because they're loose cannons and I don't know who sent them.
Yeah. How did they actually come to me? And I didn't ask for them, but somebody gave them to me, and from Cybertron or wherever, and said, you need these people. And so I like that kind of mind play that's happening between those two teams. And now that it's just going to be Optimus and them, right, to fight against Starscream.
Yeah, to fight against essentially a zombied Starscream. Yeah. Because as of right now, Starscream has his memory wiped. He doesn't know anything other than whatever Megatron programmed him to be. So he is...
I don't know. I wonder if... I see, even with that, now that I know what Ratchet can do, did Ratchet do something? Maybe. Could be.
What could Ratchet have done, Pat?
I don't know. Somehow planted something into Starscream as he was rebuilding him that maybe got past Megatron. Just, something that'll awaken in him his memory of who he actually is and that he doesn't like Megatron.
Maybe.
Hopefully. I'm thinking, trophy-wise, that would make sense.
Right now you're playing the game of guessing the ending of the story. Yeah. Or guessing a part of the story.
Part of it, yeah.
And you know how rewarding that can be. Like absolutely appropriate of nothing.
Because of my knowledge, yeah. But I think of my knowledge that I know Ratchet, and we've just seen it in this. Ratchet did two things in here, right?
Yeah.
He kind of did two really good things in his manipulation of the situations that he had happening. So, and you mentioned it in previous issues past, he's done some scheming and some things too. So I'm going off of that. Will it be right? Will it be wrong? I don't know. I guess we'll wait until next episode to find out if I am right or not. So, you know what? I kind of feel good. Maybe I'm talking too much.
I was just going to say, appropriate of nothing. Like just this past Saturday, I was watching a wrestling pay-per-view, and I guessed like 2 of the storylines, and when it happened, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm king of the world. So like, it's always good that if you're like, hey, I think I have a bead on where the author is going with what he's penciling or whatever. So, just kind of stick a pin in it. You think that Ratchet may have done something maybe within Starscream that went against what Megatron wanted him to do. Sure.
Yeah. And I think, I think, like you said, I got that, call it cockiness or whatever, but if it works out here, that just my novice of Transformer history might come into play here now. And I feel good about that.
Yeah, we might have to bump you up from like novice to acolyte or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
like student or something like that. Yeah.
Move me up a chain, one ladder up, just to
right. Instead, like you were a white belt in Transformers lore. Now we have to bump you up to blue belt if your prediction turns out to be accurate.
All right. Well, I'm hoping that we'll have that happen next go around, but we'll see.
We'll see. Now, what about the rest of 58? We talked about some of the main action. I'll mention one more thing. First of all, I'm loving Jose Delbo drawing Megatron.
Yeah, I was just going to say the artwork in this is just, man.
He had a moment. There was a moment where, basically, Ratchet is like, all right, I've sort of set up my surprise, but and Megatron just standing there looking like death incarnate, basically, and then just immediately just goes to choke Ratchet like, you were always destined to die. I don't care whether it's hours from now or right now. It's like, oh crap, there's the Megatron we know. Because before he was being all nice to him because he needed something from him. As soon as he got it, he was ready to off him. But I love that drawing. I loved it.
Oh yeah, definitely. When he just grabs him and starts choking him and gonna take him out. So yeah, some of the you're right. The facial expressions, either on Ratchet or even on Cup and some of the other characters that are in here, you can just see the detail that Jose Delbo does in this. Oh man, we keep singing his praises on here, and it's definitely well worth it throughout it. I think you can just tell what's happening too by the story that's drawn in this. Like I said, it was a fast read because a lot of it is the art that is selling the story to you.
Yeah. I did a little bit of, I could include this separately in Transformers Spotlight, but I can talk about it a little bit here. I listened to Simon Furman's and Andrew Wildman's podcast, The Rest is Giant Robots. And they were talking about, on one of the episodes, the transition into the U.S. comic book. And one of the things that Simon Furman at the time when he was writing over in the UK, sales had started to dip. And so they went from they were doing 11-page weeklies. And I think they lowered the frequency and then, no, they didn't lower the frequency. They went down to 5 pages. And so it was so he had a little bit of a culture shock coming back, from writing 5-page snippets and combined to having more of a feature length story. So that was a little right. And then he also had to do things a little bit differently as far as how he scripted, because Marvel UK does things a little bit differently than Marvel US. Because everyone's heard of, the Mighty Marvel method or Mighty Marvel Man or however they do it, where it is mainly penciler driven and the writer is basically plotting and just says, I want this to happen in the scene, but not necessarily scripting it word by word, giving the the penciler and the inker, giving the artists a little bit more of a chance to come up with their own stuff. And sure enough, like it was a little bit rough for him at first, probably writing. So that to me explains why these first few issues aren't just like the full 30, 31 pages that we're used to seeing. It's only 20, like, because it's like he had to get his feet under him. At least that's my estimation. So we had to learn a little bit different tempo from how things worked over in the UK.
But that's interesting you bring that up, because I think as I've been reading these issues from Furman, especially in this issue, I can sense that the segments when he's breaking this up, and you kind of went to it too, is like in the synopsis of, but just wait, we'll get right back to that. Mm-hmm. And I can see his, that shorter content form that he had to do for the UK versions are really paying off here, because it wanted me to see what's happening next. But then he jumped to the next scene of, what's happening on Earth then, and then jump to the other one. But it was all right, because because each story had something in it that I wanted to know,
Yeah.
And so then you would go back and finish that rest of that jump cut over to back to where he was for, plot A, and then he jumped to plot C, and then back to B, and then back to A again. And I liked it. I think that kept me engaged in this issue because of that.
Yeah, he did a masterful job of jumping back from story to story to where it's all connected. It's all one story, but it has 3 different parts. We have talked a lot about the Cybertron part, but we talked about the Earth part as well. And we've already mentioned the Ark part too. It's a 3-part story that's going on that, like, and the action of it has just advanced enough to where it's sort of, not only is it captivating, but like it definitely does go to show you the intricacy of the plot that Megatron had going, to where the folks on Earth still don't know what's going on. And heck, the people on the Ark still don't know what's going on, other than the Decepticons jumped aboard their ship and sabotaged them. But now they're starting to come to, and now as we go into part 4 of this, like, the entire game is afoot, where even though the Earth segment and the Ark segment don't know who did it yet, maybe they'll figure it out, maybe they won't. They know that something is going on. And once the Autobots get back to the Ark, then the whole thing is going to get unraveled. And they're going to have to figure out how to make sure that the Ark doesn't blow up, for instance. Mm-hmm. So lots of meat on this bone of the story still. Like, and we still, like, I think this is a 4-parter. So I think we have one more issue to go in it. So, like, who knows what happens, but it seems like a good deal is going to happen. And I don't even know whether this is going to be a 20-page one or a 30-page one. So who's to say?
And the other thing is, now we have Jazz, Bumblebee, and Grimlock back as well too. Those have been, those guys have been out for quite a while, at least since issue 50 or so, where they got blown up. So we're in issue 58 now, and they're finally back. Well, yeah, they look like, they came out of the shells okay. So that's a story that's been out there as well too, that it was just, starting to come back again. So I'm interested to see that play out. Yeah,
we have Simon mentioned, and the rest is giant robots, that he didn't want to just completely just get rid of all the continuity that existed before. And I would imagine that's for 2 reasons. One, out of respect for what Bob laid down, but 2, the stories that he was coming up with, for the most part, were interwoven in between Bob's stories. So he's intimately familiar with what Bob had been putting down. So he just started to grow from it and just pull from it. Because heck, and to me, this is something that he didn't even have to do. He brought back Darkwing and Dreadwind, and then you even see that the Mechanibals are now on Cybertron, munching on some, like, he didn't have to do that.
You didn't have to do that, but I thought that was a cool callback too. I was like, but I'm like, they're on Cybertron now.
You get the feeling though, when they run across, like,
They got to be in that dead zone or whatever that zone is,
Right.
or, you know.
Yeah, they might take over the dead zone, but if they tried to step up to someone like a Megatron, they would not last very long. It's like, take that, Matt Balls. They're just
unless they can phone home somehow. Who knows?
Right. If they have a home. I don't know if they have a home. I don't know. So obviously the point here is that Simon Furman is digging on the past to continue his stories into the future. And he's not just leaning on them heavily. He's just borrowing from them to go ahead and push the story forward. And it's been very, very good. Fantastic so far. Yeah. So was there anything else, Pat, that you wanted to discuss?
No, I think we covered it. Like I said, this was a kind of short, but a lot of plot moving forward. And I'm looking forward to the next one. Yeah,
we've got 3 parts going on right now. Part 1 on Earth. You have the newly resurrected Starscream as a pretender, ready to attack largely the Decepticon contingent, but Optimus Prime and Hot Rod are still there.
Yeah, Hot Rod's there.
You have the Ark, where the rest of the Autobots that were on planet Earth are returning back to the Ark, just as Cup has essentially found out that they have set off bombs that are going to be detonating in however long that timer had on it. And then on Cybertron now, you have Megatron about to be attacked by Grimlock, Bumblebee, and Jazz in their pretender forms. So we don't know how that's going to turn out either. So
Grimlock's going to go cray-cray on him.
Grimlock go cray-cray. And we'll see how that goes. Like, it's going to be fun. Like, they're like, and they, I think even at the end of the storyline, let's see, the way that it was described was Ratchet versus Megatron, Grimlock's Pretenders versus the Sports Car Patrol, Optimus Prime and Scorponok versus Starscream. Don't miss this big battle as metal meets metal when Titans claim. So they're promising that it's going to be a scrap. Transformers against some Transformers. So we got a pretty good issue coming up, it looks like.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, hey, Pat, you and I got through that discussion pretty good, I think. So we should probably move on and talk about who had the touch. Well, we talk about which character in the book stood out the most: Autobot, Decepticon, human. You want to take it first, Pat? Do you know who had the touch to you?
I do, and I want to give it to 2.
We normally have 4 people, so you're allowed.
Oh, all right. Then I can. I'm going to give the touch to Ratchet as my first one because of just him planning and kind of duping Megatron. And like I said, I know something's brewing in Starscream, but also him being able to kind of, keep himself alive and also get those other 3 bots put together, but yet also use those other 3 bots to help him against Megatron.
Yeah. And he created that diversion too, because they were about to disassemble the lab that he had used, but he caused an explosion that took out the microbots that allowed more time for the other robots to generate. So there's that too.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Wow.
Yeah. Ratchet was a bot of action in this one for sure.
He was. The other one, I'm going to say Megatron, because like I said in the beginning, his scheme is really coming together. And I think this is the best scheme I think he has had in this series compared to some of the other ones. You know, granted, like, as you mentioned, it's Megatron and he's going to get, there was a hole somewhere, a couple holes, wherever, because he's so blinded by his own ego.
Yep.
But I still think it's a pretty good plan. He's got a lot of people duped.
He's got a lot of people duped. And matter of fact, you think about it, he has everyone duped but Ratchet.
That's true. Yeah.
So,
but even Ratchet, I don't think he really gave his full plan to Ratchet at all.
No, he didn't. The thing that Ratchet had to do was repair Starscream. That was it. Yep. He didn't reveal more. And he said he's going to be an instrument to his revenge, but as to what his revenge plot is fully, no, he didn't fully tell Ratchet anything other than he just had to do his job as a medic and heal people. If I had to guess who had the touch, I'll take one that you didn't mention. I'll take Optimus Prime. Optimus Prime had guts. it took a lot for him to just send his contingent away and to basically bet that he could survive any attacks from the Decepticons before he could get them to come to reason. And it looks like his gamut worked, at least in that he was able to get them to put down their weapons and start talking. But then Starscream came and ruined it. So I give Optimus Prime credit for knowing that there's a ruse going on, sending the rest of his troops away, which basically helped protect Earthlings. And then he started to get the bad guys to at least understand what was going on too. So I give the touch to Optimus Prime.
I agree with that too. That's another good one.
And if we talked about the touch, someone had to be out of touch. We talk about the character that was the worst in the book and cannot stop disobeying orders and winds up getting Optimus Prime hurt or killed in any universe, apparently. In the segment called Less Than Meets the Eye. Man, if I had to guess who was less than meets the eye, I would probably say the Micromasters just as a whole, because like the Micromasters got duped on Cybertron, and then they also got duped, or not duped, but beat up on the Ark. So it's like as soon as like they were even, that Cup was able to recover, and as soon as he did, he was able to take most of them out again. And so like they were the least effective and probably the biggest hole in Megatron's plot besides Megatron's ego itself. Who do you think was less than meets the eye?
See, I didn't. They are definitely a good choice, and you explained it very well there. My other less than meets the eye was Megatron as well, just because of the open holes that he had in there. And so knowing that there's going to be some stuff that's going to break his plan apart because of those holes that he didn't solidify and just make sure he had them covered, or at least be aware of them just in case. So this is going to come back and bite him.
Of course.
But that's it. That was a good choice that you had as well too. And then there's Hot Rod too. But
yeah, in an ideal world, if we were writing it where the bad guy wins, he creates Starscream. He sees that Starscream's ready to go. He immediately murders Ratchet. Immediately. Has the Micromaster shut down the lab, and then he goes with Starscream and then just lays waste to everybody and then says, I'm the guy back on top again. That would be how you would write the story. Of the point of the story were for Megatron to win, in my opinion.
Yeah, you would think, why didn't Megatron go to just surprise?
Because he wants to be this behind the scenes mastermind right now. Yeah. Like he wanted his avatar to go and do all of the death and destruction for him, and then he just comes and claims if he was working for me, because at least as of right now, if you notice, Starscream said, I've been sent here by my master. He didn't say who his master.
He didn't say who it was, but
didn't say who. Did not.
Then that's still going to be a big reveal, at least to Prime and to those that are on. I guess it's going to be to anybody that wasn't on Cybertron.
Yeah,
it's going to be people on the Ark, the guys on the Ark. It's going to be the ones on Earth, and all the Decepticons too that didn't know what was happening.
Oh yeah, Megatron is back for now, and we'll see how that goes and who finds out and how that's going to play out. But that's for issue 59. For now, we are wrapping up issue 58. So now's the time for overall ratings for the book. Do things on that scale of 1 to 10. And you want to go first, Pat? What would you rate Transformers 58?
I'm going to give this a 9 as well, too. I think with all this conversation, it has really helped me move up my original number that I wrote down after reading it. You've kind of helped explain some things. So I'm feeling a 9 on this one. Definitely a good turn, and I'm really looking forward to seeing next issue.
I'm at a 9 as well. This has been outstanding. For these 20-page stories, it went by quickly, but so much happened. It was fantastic characterization. Megatron has a fantastic plan at play, and it is taking a whole lot to even start to unravel it. It took a very, very intelligent effort by Ratchet in order to start unraveling it at the source. And it looks like it's going to take a very intelligent effort from not only Optimus Prime, but Scorponok as well to figure out how in the heck they're going to get past Starscream. And we don't even know what the heck's going to happen on the Ark, and how's the Ark going to get away without being blown to smithereens.
Yeah. Is it going to crash again? I don't know.
I don't know either. No idea. So we will see what's going to happen in issue 59. But for now, both of us gave it a 9, and I think that's where it should be. I mean, this is some outstanding storytelling. So I'm just really looking forward to it. We normally have Transformers Spotlight, everybody, and I discussed most of it already. I was just going to talk a little bit about Simon Furman's and Andrew Wildman's podcast, The Rest is Giant Robots. But I discussed the main points that I wanted to. The only thing that I was going to add, and I thought that this was good as well, is that Simon Furman was the UK writer, and he found out a little bit about, we already knew that Bob Budiansky kind of wanted off, but Don Daly was like, we don't have anybody else to write this, so you got to keep it going. And so sales had started waning a little bit. And so it just so happens Chance Encounter Simon Furman had come over from across the pond, the UK, over to New York and spent a few months there. And during that time, he met Bob, and Bob basically offered him the book, of which Simon accepted. Bob also said, the sales have been waning, so like you might only have about 6 issues or so to write the book. So Simon was less than, excited to hear about that, but nevertheless still took the reins of the story. He talked about Jose Delbo in glowing terms, which I was very happy to hear. And as it turned out, the person, and it makes so much sense now if you think about it, Simon Furman being from the UK, and then he eventually got a penciler onto the book that drew the book into the 60s, which you'll be seeing shortly. His name is Jeff Senior. Jeff Senior is also British. And so it was easier for Simon and Jeff to collaborate on the book as opposed to, like I said, the difficulties that he had when it came with Jose, because Jose, I don't know where he was stationed. Look at my military, where he lived in the United States, but like it was who knows how they were communicating with each other. But Simon mentioned that it was a little bit easier to communicate with his Brit mate once he got him onto the book, which has not happened yet, but it's going to happen soon. So that will do in lieu of a Transformer Spotlight. We will get back soon to talking about some Transformers in that Spotlight, but hopefully that was somewhat entertaining. I would highly recommend that you go listen to The Rest is Giant Robots. It's a good podcast. Like Simon and Andrew both seem like two good dudes. And I just love them regaling the stories of things that happened in this case, the late 80s. And then it's continuing to go on. And the podcast isn't even too long, usually about 30 or 40 minutes a piece, while they regale about years past and things about the industry. So I have enjoyed listening to about 4 or 5 of them. I think I'm going to listen to a few more.
Very cool.
Yep. And with that, we will go to a promo break.
The Transformers will return after these messages.
Hey, listen to Longbox Crusade.
return to the Transformers.
Now is the time for transmissions, where we heap praise upon the audience for listening to us. We're going to be talking about Transformers Chronicles 55, where we discuss Transformers issue 55. I'll read the social media shares and retweets. Thank you very much to Alan E. Boyce Jr., Matt Passo, SSB, who was at SSB0, the Hasbro Omniverse portal, JohnReadsComics.com, and Jim Meal. Thank you all very much for your shares or your retweets. And we had quite a few comments. So I'll start with the first one, and then I'll pass it off to Pat for the second one. First one's from good old Clinton Robeson from Coffee and Comics. He says, and it's Delvin off the top rope. Pat's bringing a pain with a suplex. There's no way this comic can take much more. But wait, oh my God, it's John Wilson with a steel chair.
Woo!
Woo! that was the episode where the Transformers got into a little bit of wrestling. Just in case you forgot from Transformers 55. Pat, next comment's yours.
Oh, that was a fun one. I'm going to take the next one from G.I. Gary. And G.I. Gary says, this is a delightful Budiansky issue. As much as I appreciate mature stories about these Cybertronians, there's a certain whimsy in these that will be missed. Oh, yes, there definitely will be.
I agree. Like, a comparison for me would be when Tom DeFalco wrote Spider-Girl. Tom DeFalco wrote Amazing Spider-Man for a little bit. We haven't gotten to those in Amazing Spider-Man Chronicles yet, Pat. Mm-hmm. But he has a sort of like old-timey storytelling. It is great storytelling, don't get me wrong, but something about it is quaint. And then obviously went away from it, and then you had a decent amount of the 90s. Spidey went a little bit dark, and right around the turn of the century, they came out with Spider-Girl, and Tom DeFalco wrote a decent amount of that too. And it was just a delight, just how he crafts a story, how it always felt like the stories, even if they're heavy, kind of had a little bit of a happy ending and the sunshine to it. The exact same thing, how Bob wrote his books compared to Simon. Simon writes a great Transformers, as you can see. But Bob's had it was just silly. It's like freaking robots wrestling. Yeah. And you have to just laugh at that. Like in the best way, you have to laugh with it, because it's so charming. And even and Bob's like, yeah, like I pulled that idea because we had folks around the bullpen, they were talking about wrestling and how cool it was, and so I put it in the story. And it's like, okay, you just can't beat it.
Yeah, definitely.
Next comment is from Jared Albrecht, the yard sale artist, who says Transformers and wrestling. Big episode for Delvin. Here, Jared.
Our next comment comes from Todd Matthey. And Todd says, great issue. One of my favorite comic books.
Okay. And next one is from Brian Beedron Gears, who is new. I think Todd Matthey's new. I don't remember reading his name before. So
yeah,
Todd,
I think they both are new too. Yep.
Yeah, so Todd, thank you, and Brian, thank you as well. Brian says it was definitely an odd note for Budiansky to go out on. I'd say ish, like in that we know it was about Bob's time to go. But as I had mentioned when it came to that episode, I definitely wish that they would have given Bob the opportunity to write in transmissions on the book itself to say his goodbye. He deserved that. He 100% did. And given what a legacy he's left, and it still remains even to this day, I bet if they had an opportunity to go back and give him that time, they would have. Pat, what's next?
All right, next we have one from Adam Harris. And Adam says, not his best work and kind of a sad way to go out. I also wasn't a fan of the way the Micromasters were used in the comics. Yes, the toys were small, but only because it was a different scale. I never got the impression that the characters were intended to be tiny as well. They should have been treated like any other Transformers and turned into regular-sized vehicles and robots. And that's a good kind of a neat point, I think, when we do talk about the scaling that the Autobots and the Decepticons can do, would kind of make sense. But Adam continues, Star Optimus Prime coming from a micro master-sized hot rod supports this theory.
Yeah, like we can always go back and forth with the size thing. If you remember at one point, Cecilia Santiago rode inside one of the Micromasters. So they weren't that small.
Yeah.
And like I remember there was one time when one of the wrestlers initially tried to pick up Road Handler, I believe. And he was like, "You must weigh a ton." And it was like actually 0.8997. I was like, so these, they were small conventionally compared to Transformers, but they weren't small compared to humans. Like Road Handler was probably like, I'm a tall guy at 6'3". I would say like the Micromasters were probably about 7-foot robots, as opposed to like your normal mid-size Autobots, probably about twice that size. And then somebody like Optimus Prime is even a little bit bigger than that, like 20 to 30 feet tall. So like, but that's my guess on it. Like, I don't know whether the science was ever exact or whether anyone ever expected for anyone to dissect Transformers. Right.
But technically,
right. So it's definitely in the eye of the beholder. And it's in, just like it's in Adam's eye, where I think Adam's a new person too. So thank you for writing, Adam. Just like Adam sort of thought like, wasn't Bob's best work and kind of a sad way to go out. And Brian thought it was kind of an odd note to go out, but then Todd Matthey loved it and said it's one of his favorite comics. So eye of the beholder, ladies and gents. Last comment is from Herbert Fung. He says, "I will miss the Buddy Ansky era. His work on the franchise has given me some of my favorite stories. And interestingly enough, it's the more offbeat ones that I love the most." See, yet another person. Joey Slick, Charlene's adventures with Skids, Car Wash of Doom, that moment Ratchet cooked some hot dogs, and so much more. I think I was maybe a bit older than the average fan at the time, but that didn't temper my enthusiasm. All through the cartoon, what caught my imagination initially, I eventually came to love the comic more. I do feel in the show things went on a decline after the movie, and the book did a lot better. I won't say much about the Furman run now so as to not spoil it for Pat. Thank you, Herbert. But I am looking forward to his impression of the books going forward. I can't do any more cover homages because I didn't collect much of the figures by this time of the book, but this is in reference to something more contemporary. So he shows a picture of Optimus Prime, and Optimus Prime is holding Megatron's fusion cannon. This, Pat, you wouldn't know it. It's from the new Transformers series, where Megatron, as of about issue 15 or 16, just made his first appearance. And I can't even remember how, but Optimus Prime has his fusion cannon right now and is using it as a weapon. So that's what Herbert's referring to. Like, Daniel Warren Johnson is doing fantastic work on Transformers, and matter so much so that he won an Eisner for it.
Yeah,
he is doing fantastic
cool.
work. Fantastic.
I just want to say, thank you to Herbert for, just your comments all the time. It really is appreciated. And the fact that you're interested in what I would think about these. So that means a lot to me, and I'm glad you're listening.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm more than delighted that several people who we haven't seen before decided to comment. We love reading your comments, and we love seeing that we are reaching out to people. Oh, yeah. I forgot, Pat.
What is it?
We were a part of...
That's right. Yes, Delvin.
Yes, of FeedSpot, podcast.feedspot.com. Ranked the 40 best Transformers podcasts, and yours truly, Transformers comic book, ranked in at number 9.
Wow.
Yeah, man. I am over the moon about that. I think a few years ago we may have been number 11, and so we jumped up a little bit up to number 9. Like, we're one of the top 10 podcasts according to FeedSpot, like that talks about
That's
Transformers.
Crazy.
That is absolute insanity. Like, I couldn't be more happy that our humble little show has reached out to the people that it has. And like to the 8 shows above us, congratulations for spreading a awesome toy company. And to anybody that's under us, congratulations for going out there and keeping the flame for a very awesome toy property. We're just happy to be among the list, to be honest with you. So like that we were as high as number 9, I could not be happier about. So thank you all for anyone who's ever taken time to listen to us, be it Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any of the podcatchers that you see us on. We truly, truly appreciate it. Thank you so much. And if we happen to miss anyone, we do apologize. Like I mentioned, if you ping us on Twitter, X, Facebook, Instagram, we'll correct it in the next issue. And that is the show. Please come back and join us for the next episode where we discuss Transformers issue 59, where robots are fighting everywhere. Earth, space, and Cybertron. And if you'd like to hear more from us, like we already mentioned, you can find us pretty much anywhere. Any of the podcatchers, Google Play, Spotify. You look for LONGBOX Crusade, you can find us. If you look for Transformers Chronicles in particular, you will find our podcast solo there. At LONGBOX Crusade, we come out with a lot of stuff. We're proud of it. We recommend that you listen to any and all of it. But if you just want to listen to Transformers Chronicles, you can find that separately on most podcatchers as well. Twitter X, LONGBOX Crusade. Facebook, Instagram, LONGBOX Crusade. Patreon, LONGBOX Crusade. And you can come join our Crusaders Club for only $1 a month. And you get access to like not only show content, but like backstage stuff and a lot more. We have a YouTube channel too. We love for you to like and subscribe any of our content there. We do live content, live streams once a month. Every second Sunday, we do a Come Out to Play, a New Warriors podcast. Jared does one called with Black Belt Chris called Best Under 5, where they talk about a movie that rates an IMDb at 4.9 or below. And there's even a voicemail. You can leave us voicemail comments on 707-532-5269. That is 707-532-LBOX.
Pick up the phone.
Pick up the phone. And you can also email us at contact@longboxcrusade.com. Pat, we did it. We got through an episode by ourselves, man. Tell us where you can be found on the internet.
Well, Delvin, I am glad you asked. You can find me on the X at Christatos01. Delvin, where can you be found?
I can be found on Threads at Delvin Ray and Blue Sky, DEERAY 1977. See y'all next time. And remember, freedom is the right of all sentient beings till all are one.
Till all are one.
And there's only one person saying it this time. So, so I guess to this episode.
Yeah.
All songs, song clips, and characters discussed are copyright of their respective copyright holders, and no infringement is intended, and it is for entertainment purposes only. We are just fans that like to share our love of comics.